We're now in the early stages of the fourth industrial revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
And eventually AI won't just model the low level what the shape is, but it'll model the cell and the organ and the organism.
If you have enough data about me and enough computing power and biological knowledge, you can hack my body, my brain, my life. You can reach a point when you know me better than I know myself.
We will come to accept entities that are not biological as conscious. But it's not going to be, okay, machines on the right side of the room, humans on the left. If you talk to a biological human, they will have lots of non-biological processes going on in their body and brain. Those computers will be out in the cloud, so the thinking of that quote person isn't even just in their body and brain, even in the non-biological portion. It's out on the cloud. So it's going to be all mixed up. There's not going to be a clear distinction between human and machine. The bottom line is we are one human-machine civilization.
It will not only change how we communicate, how we produce, how we consume, it will change actually us, our own identity.
Not growing the virus at all, but just getting the sequences, getting the appropriate protein and sticking it on a self-assembling nanoparticle that is much, much more immunogenic.
Injecting robots into a human's bloodstream sounds terrifying. But what if I told you science has developed so far that they are actually doing it on purpose?
Making the mRNA is really easy and really cheap, and that's the magic of this thing. We just need to mess around. There's a lot of lipid nanoparticles, and some are very self-assembling.
Let's take a look at a 2013 presentation delivered by Israeli scientist Dr. Ido Bashelet from Bar-Ilan University, boasting about the development of programmable nanorobots thanks to the funding of Pfizer.
So this syringe has inside it 1,000 billion robots. So these robots are each 50 nanometers. 50 nanometers is about 2,000 times thinner than the thickness of your hair.
Species Homo sapiens, if we survive, will probably have so much power that we will change ourselves using various technologies so that our descendants will no longer be Homo sapiens like us.
Emotionally, it is easy to dismiss the work of Dr. Anna Maria Mihalcea, for it is very disturbing. But her work is shown through scientific testing and backed up by government and NGO documentation. And the evidence shows that humanity has already been infected with cutting-edge surveillance nanotechnology. She also points out the important fact that the elastomers being fabricated by DuPont for this soft robot technology are made of the exact same chemicals found when analyzing the messegens, a compound that displays liquid crystal properties, found in targeted individuals. And they appear to be the same compounds she found in the blood of the vaxxed, as well as the blood of the unvaxxed. The building blocks of hydrogels are being found in the COVID vaccine, and hydrogels are being found in the blood of both the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. They are the so-called blood clots that are being found around the world. And these hydrogels can now be programmed, encrypted, and decrypted. And it's spreading. Evidence shows that the vaxxed are shedding this to the unvaxxed. A review by the RAND Corporation, Brain-Computer Interfaces, U.S. Military Applications and Implications, discuss the convergence of human with machine. In an interview with Big Pharma whistleblower Karen Kingston discusses this self-assembly nanotechnology and how the spike protein is an engineered device, triggered by electromagnetic frequency, and how the quantum dots are gene editing technology. This nanotechnology appears to be distributed via chemtrails, the food and water supply, medications, and in all of the scheduled vaccines for children.
These transhumanists who have literally a satanic hate for humanity, the creation of God, want to digitize every cell on Earth, every microbe, and track it, as well as, again, upload it into what's called the metaverse. I am a certified chelation practitioner, and the amount of metals that I'm pulling out of people is extraordinary. So we have been systematically poisoned, but not just us, but all life forms on Earth. The rain is filled with this poison. The trees are sucking it up into their root system. So their agenda ultimately is, number one, to fuse biology with technology. The ultimate end result is that machines will take over all biology. This is an evolutionary step that we must fight at all costs, for they want to exterminate all natural humans. When you synthetically alter the human DNA that has a very specific vibratory frequency, that is also frequency specific with all of nature, we are all interconnected with the oneness of creation. That harmony is being disturbed and is out of sync when we are fusing with technology. So they're creating literally a Borg hive mind in which there are no free thinkers, there is no free will, you're just simply following the program. So we all must stand up and insist that the creation of God and the diversity of our biosphere is so beautiful, so evolutionary, magnificent. I have seen the same blood changes of these filamental self-assembling structures that are literally replacing the blood and are using the blood as a substrate to create these blood clots. And I've seen extraordinary blood clots in the unvaccinated as well. This movement is really about the final destruction of the divine human being, and we must resist at all costs. At this point, this is a fight for our survival, and I believe that denial kills people. If they're not aware of this and they don't want to do anything about it, they don't want to hear it, they have this stuff growing in them like a cancer, and eventually they will succumb to it. Greetings! Welcome to this week's show, Truth, Science, and Spirit. I have a recurrent, phenomenal guest, Elana Freeland. And what I want to say is, she has the greatest insight and the most in-depth research about what is going on in regards to geoengineering in terms of the synbio, the amount of information that she can pack into a book, which, right now, my top new recommended book is her newest one, The Geoengineered Transhuman. And I want to start off by saying that every human being on this planet has to read this. That's what I said about her last book too. But it's literally that important. It's that well researched, and it gives so much information regarding the background. So first of all, Elana, welcome, and congratulations to this newest book. It is absolutely phenomenal and mind-blowing, and I would consider myself well read in the subject, but I am marking like every other line in regards to the phenomenal information. So explain a little bit about this book, and really, you have had this series of books of really informing people. And this one goes so in depth in regards to tying all these different areas together of nanotechnology, of the geoengineering. Give us a little bit of a 10,000 feet view overview.
Thank you for your praise, and praise back to you for your books. I've read the first one. I haven't gotten to the second one yet. I loved the first one. So I feel like we're on the same team, and I'm really grateful for that. We don't end up backbiting and thinking small and lots of ego trips, and that's very refreshing. So, all right, you wanted to talk about the space fence, and I spend the second book primarily on the space fence, and where I got that term, just so people know, is from Lockheed Martin. And Lockheed Martin is #1 in the world for arms sales and owns all the patents for the space fence. So obviously it's a big deal, but Lockheed Martin would have you think that the space fence is really just this little bit of this and that in the Kwajalein Island over there in the Marshall Islands, and it's a little bit over here in the United States, and it's a little bit. No, this is very big. This is huge, and we're all plugged into it. So for me, I spent the second book on it. Billy Hayes, the Harp Man, as he was called. He was MK Ultra from the beginning of his life, and they mainly programmed him in electromagnetics. He was the usually the team head wherever they sent him to the 240 different places in the United States that the military controls, the American military controls, and NATO, and he would be the one who would guide the other guys. Probably they were programmed as well. Who knows how far this extends? But they were building all of this from, well, Billy's entire life. He spent building these installations, which would eventually end in the secret space program. So Billy was at my right hand the whole book and reciting chapter and verse of all these different installations and how they calibrate everything to work together. That's the important part. And that includes us, I might add. Now that we have someone like Sabrina Wallace tutoring us in what the wireless body area network is, we realize that I want people to understand after today what I mean by being plugged in. It's not like if you're in a phone tap or something. It's not that simple. It's really that you're part of the system, and the system is drawing off of your energy at the same time that you're just going through your day and having your life, and you think that it's just your life. But the truth is that now, and I think I can say safely now, we are all plugged into the system. And when I heard Mr. Trump announce the Stargate AI, well, I remember Stargate. I'm old. I came of age in the 60s. I remember Stargate in 1977. It was a CIA mind control operation. And it was using various people's ideas, right and left brain, all of that was involved in this, like, the Men Who Stare at Goats, like that book and that film. So now we're back to Stargate. This one, though, is Stargate AI. And so that's what this is about, it's the space fence. Nobody else is using the term space fence except Lockheed Martin, at least as far as I know.
So what exactly does it encounter? Is it the ionospheric modification? Is it HARP? What is the definition?
It's all of the above. But what it really is a complete modification and transformation of the atmosphere itself into a weapon. And that's what we have. We have a weaponized atmosphere. That's what scientist Clifford Carnicom came up with years ago when I started working with him, and he was measuring things with the Van de Graaff and in 100 ways, looking at things that were falling from the sky in northern New Mexico. That was the realization that they were changing the atmosphere. And that's, as long as we're on that, let me just, if I can, let's just look at one piece of the video presentation I brought with me, that first slide after the initial name of it, yeah, the next slide. Just go ahead and play that. We're just going to play like a minute of it, just so we can see where we are. This is how I think, by the way, for people who follow me. I'm very aware that we're moving through space. Why I'm aware, I have no idea, but I am exceedingly aware of that. So notice we're not in a Copernican universe anymore. We're moving in a vortex through space. And the planets are moving around our star. And it's that vortex, like all the way from the vortex that we all have on our head from the time we're born to the vortices that we encounter again and again, the way our blood moves, the way all fluids seem to move, the water going down the drain down in the southern hemisphere compared to the northern hemisphere. We're surrounded by this idea of this wonderful energy, this toroidal energy. And that's, I think if we can build a picture of ourselves that's a little larger than we normally do, where, you know, we're the one paying the mortgage, we're the one making dinner for the kids, we're the one doing these small daily, often comforting, sometimes challenging acts that make us human. But there's another part of us that's human that we don't call on much anymore because we've been conditioned out of it. And that is the divine part of us, or as I like to say, the large part of us, the part of us that is sort of squeezed into these bodies and these personalities, and we take so seriously because, well, that's our work for this incarnation. That's what we need to do. But if we forget that we're something other, then we're easily manipulated by those who want to use us for power. And that's the problem that we're having now. And so I write these books in an era in which most people don't read because they can't retain things. They can't concentrate. They can't go to the next page and remember what they just read. So, you know, this is all too much TV, too much cell phones, too much electromagnetic toys. And so I'm calling people to these video presentations just to give you a little push to think of yourselves with a different type of mental picture. All right, this is really, really good and important. This is about our Schumann resonance now that truthfully we are not living in anymore.
An unknown scientist is about to make a discovery that should have changed everything. His name was Winifred Otto Schumann. On the day in question, he was teaching his students about the physics of electricity, how a sphere within a sphere can create electrical tension, and subsequently, a frequency. Schumann's class had struggled to understand the subject, so to make it easier, the professor instructed them to imagine the Earth as one sphere and the ionosphere as another. He then asked them to calculate the tension that would exist in between. Having no idea himself, Schumann also began to calculate. Eventually, he arrived at a frequency of approximately 10 Hertz. As incredible as it seemed to Schumann, our planet had a pulse, a measurable frequency that surrounded life on Earth. Although the professor was proud of his find, he didn't see it as a hugely significant one. especially as it was only published in a small science journal, confined to the back pages, under the heading of Schumann resonance. It would take several years, and an incredible twist of fate, before the professor would begin to realize the true importance of Schumann resonance. That twist of fate had begun 30 years earlier, with another German scientist by the name of Hans Berger. Using an EEG machine he had built himself, Berger had made the first ever recording of electrical frequency transmitted by the human brain. It was initially suggested the wave be named after the man who'd discovered it, but Berger, being a modest man, elected for an alphabetical name and called it the alpha wave. Shortly after Professor Schumann's discovery, one of Hans Berger's colleagues, a man named Dr. Ankermüller, happened to stumble upon a bedraggled copy of a small scientific journal. The exact same small scientific journal that Professor Schumann's discovery had been published in several years before. He read the piece several times, shaking his head in disbelief. He realized instantly the magnitude of what was in front of him. The frequency of the alpha waves, recorded by Hans Berger, were almost identical to Schumann resonance. The frequency of the Earth. Dr. Ankermüller immediately contacted Schumann to convince him to investigate further. Schumann agreed and worked alongside one of his students to refine his discovery. They studied in detail how tension is discharged by lightning in the Earth ionosphere cavity. Eventually, they came up with an exact frequency. The pulse of the Earth, Schumann resonance, was exactly 7.83 Hertz. The discovery was remarkable. Schumann resonance wasn't just similar to the alpha waves of the human brain, it was identical. The brain's frequency, which controlled our creativity, our performance, our stress, anxiety, and our immune system, had somehow tuned in to the frequency of the planet. The pulse of the Earth had become the pulse of life.
So, Dr. Anna, when she wrote her book, she talked about Clifford's discovery years ago that the pulse, there was a pulse coming from the atmosphere now at 4 Hertz. And this, there's a place where you can go to check the Schumann resonance, but I don't know how much I trust these sites anymore, truthfully. I remember one for HAARP, and I was watching it closely during the New Orleans drama of 2011, I want to say. And I definitely noticed that somebody was changing it, and it wasn't accurate. So I know that the 4 Hertz is a pulse, and Barry Trower, the former Royal Navy microwave weapons expert, Barry discusses the use of pulse frequency through HAARP, the High Frequency Active Aurora Research Project in Gakona, Alaska, that has the greatest acronym ever. That they're using pulse frequency as a directed energy bioweapon, and that's exactly what's going on now with this 4 Hertz instead of the Schumann resonance. We are no longer in sync with our planet. That sync has been interrupted, and instead we're at a 4 Hertz, 4 Hertz multiples. Infused by the HAARP system into the atmosphere to create cyclotronic resonance that impacts our endocrine system and the biologically important ions of sodium, calcium, potassium, and lithium. Can you see how a common background pulse of 4 Hertz, no longer the Schumann resonance of 11.83 Hertz, the resonance of our living planet and our brain, forces us into a hive mind. 4 hertz is between delta waves, which are usually the waves that we have when we sleep, deep sleep, and theta waves, which we have when we're relaxed. So that's kind of what we have to get hold of now, is we think of the environment as being out there. And now we actually are plugged into the environment in a very intimate way that we have not been informed of. And we're having all kinds of sicknesses because of that, and all sorts of symptoms. Autoimmune symptoms are because of this massive electromagnetic presence now in the planet, on the planet, and therefore resonating in our bodies, as we saw this in this film, this wonderful film, which I highly recommend you all watch the whole thing. Resonance, about frequency. As Tesla said, if you want to understand life, you're going to have to understand vibration and frequency. So now we definitely have a situation in which we must understand it. Now, something happened, and I think the next video is about that, and we could go to that. You had a question?
Yes, let me just interject. So in the study that we did with Clifford Carnicom, he was looking at, we were trying to figure out what are the differences between vaccinated and unvaccinated blood. And because certainly in the microscope, we couldn't see anything. And so what he then did was use a spectroscopy method and, use from 0 to 25,000 hertz, and found that this range anywhere between 2 to 6 hertz, that the vaccinated blood was highly sensitive to that versus the unvaccinated was not. And that really was the primary difference that we could make out between the two. And so now understanding that we understand that the microelectronics within the shots, that it's all about, changing the human into a cyborg and into the cybernetic hive mind. So it makes very much sense that it is like that. So we didn't see that even heavily shedded upon unvaccinated blood had that resonant frequency peak. So that's a very, important, I think, observation here.
Oh, and very positive. I mean, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yes.
That makes my day. So go to the next slide and see if it's the HAARP Senate meeting in Alaska. So this is important to see. Seeing is believing. It's very hard to imagine that, and just to remind people of what they heard in high school science, we live in the troposphere of the planet, very close to its skin, and that's about 12 miles thick. Then next is the stratosphere. That's where the jets fly when you're flying at 37,000 feet or whatever, on your way back to the East Coast. That's 12 to 31 miles thick. And then above that is the mesosphere. And then above that is finally the ionosphere, from 49 to 428 miles thick. And then comes the plasmasphere. It's another name they've given, another one of these. I like to think of them as subtle bodies. These are frequencies, yes, but I believe they are subtle bodies of the living planet. I'll talk about that a little more in a moment. And then finally, beyond the plasmasphere and the ionosphere is the magnetosphere. And that's up to 37,282 miles. Now, all of these levels are resonant. They resonate. So when the geoengineers are experimenting with how they're going to arrive at what is called full spectrum dominance over planet Earth, and that means the full electromagnetic spectrum primarily, They keep in mind these resonances through each of these spheres of influence around the Earth. So now you're going to hear the Air Force admit that it really is true that the NATO-run, I'm not sure about other nations involved in it, but I know NATO is very much involved, have control over the entire ionosphere. If you could play that then.
Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of you this morning. Very interesting. I wanted to ask a couple questions here about HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Several of you at the table have a little bit of a piece here. As you know, this is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facilities here. So questions to several of you this morning. I'm told by the president of the University of Alaska that the Air Force has pulled its support for the facility, and they're taking steps to demolish it or take it down this summer. He's making the argument that there is other opportunities for us, and is trying to find a path where the university might be able to take title to the facility. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Prabhakar. I understand that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HARP does or why the agency is involved in it. So a very brief explanation, and then a more direct question. Would you be disappointed, or would you lose something if HARP were to go away?
Senator Mihalcea, as I think you know, one of our programs has been using the HARP facility for the research that it's pursuing. And my understanding is that we did get value out of that interaction. The P in DARPA is projects, and we're not in the business of doing the same thing forever. And so very naturally, as we conclude that work, we're going to move on to other topics. So it's not an ongoing need for DARPA, despite the fact that we had actually gotten some good value out of that infrastructure in the past.
Understood. Then to Dr. Walker and Mr. Schaefer, then, Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility. I've mentioned that it's our understanding through the president of UAF that the plans are to move forward and demolish the facility this summer. So the question to you is that accurate? Can you explain why? And then perhaps to both you and Mr. Schaefer, is there any benefit in exploring a potential relationship with the University of Alaska to perhaps take over the HARP?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HARP in the past. We took it over from the Navy and managed it, and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there, and have finished our work that we're interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it. And but that work has been completed. The Air Force has maintained the site for other government agencies to use for several years now. And with DARPA completing their project, that's our last government customer that we have in the site.
So what Dr. Walker from the Air Force is saying is, yes, they control the ionosphere. The whole idea that the University of Alaska at Fairbanks would take it over and maybe rent it out by the weekend for special projects or whatever, or destroy it, was all disinformation. It was just a way to get it out of the public mind, that great acronym that the public really adhered to. And so then we didn't hear much at all. In fact, we still don't hear much at all about HARP anymore for the last several years. I recommend I say here, and I'm sort of tongue in cheek, they had an 18-year run with two major accomplishments, is how you're going to read about it in the history books. It's going to say that HAARP was able to bounce a 40-meter signal off the moon in 2007 and successfully produce a sustained high-density plasma cloud in the Earth's upper atmosphere in 2013. As if all the clouds we see now were not plasma clouds, which they are. They're all made of plasma. But the real breadth of HAARP's success is explained in Nick Begich and Gene Manning's 1995 book, Angels Don't Play This HAARP, and in Rosalie Bertell's book, Planet Earth, The Latest Weapon of War, and the books I've written about generating ELF, so extra low frequencies, and ionospheric lenses, Earth penetrating tomography, or EPT, changing the chemical structure of the upper and lower atmospheres to alter weather, affect human mental functioning, and impart natural human health in preparation for the transhuman called Human 2.0. Now, today, what is open of HAARP, just to be clear, are 4 different sites up in Alaska: the IRI, the Ionospheric Research Instrument; HIPAS, the High Power Auroral Stimulation Observatory; the Chattanooga Incoherent Scatter Radar Facility; and the Poker Flat Research Range. HAARP now refers to a Tesla magnifying transmitter, global scale weapon, whose effective radiated power, ERP, can be multiplied to billions of watts. And it references the global network of phased array antennas, ionospheric heaters, and radar installations that make up an interferometric grid. Now, that term interferometric is sort of big, but it basically is a weapon that requires 3 different beams from ionospheric heaters like HAARP to all converge over a target area, much as occurred, in my opinion, with 9/11. That's what you had. You had 3 beams. You need 3 when you're doing something that will entail holography. And that did entail holography, that incident. And so this is the part where everything around geoengineering and HAARP's role in it and that sort of thing is all sort of made into spaghetti, so that we can't unwind the parts of the story that lead to probably the most terrifying weapon ever produced, which is basically what this geoengineering weapon is. It is not about all the things that you're told it is, and that's, it's not news, right? We've heard cover stories after cover stories after cover stories of other events, but this one is so big that it's really hard to weigh how much of the truth you're getting and how much is lies or misapprehension. A lot of scientists have very much poo-pooed the idea of, for example, scalar weaponry, scalar energy. And they're smart guys. They have PhDs. But what we have is something that's being kept secret in full sight, and that's easy to do today because there's so much distraction and so many ways to cleverly hide this and that in a partial truth. Because good disinformation, be under no illusion, good disinformation requires at least 60 or 70% truth in order to get that other 30 to 40% down in people's minds, which is how then they will continue to believe that. So that, you know, it's kind of like 60% is for your conscious mind, 40% is for your subconscious mind. And the subconscious is always, always, always the number one target of disinformation or MK Ultra or any of that sort of manipulation of the human spirit. Will go for the subconscious, because the subconscious basically rules in us still, even though we're in a process of evolution we've been in for thousands of years, if not millions. We still have this problem of the subconscious.
Let me ask you this. In regards to the geoengineering, you know, there are bills now in different states to ban it. You know, but what people are not understanding is that it is part of this larger ionospheric, you know, project that's in the Black Project. So the likelihood that, you know, anybody's affecting these Black projects, unless it becomes declassified because it's a military project, to me is still very, very challenging. What is your view on that?
You're so right. You're so right. And when I see the states doing this, of course, I remember when Dennis Kucinich did this in 2001 with his chemtrails bill in Ohio. He HR 2977, I think it was. I even remembered that. It was a big deal because he was being much more blatant and out front than these bills are, and I've been following them because he very much saw that it was a weapon, and his career pretty much was over at that point. Plus, I've always wondered about the deaths of his brother and sister as well. So Dennis tried to do something in 2001, and that would have been just before what happened in September in New York, and it didn't go anywhere. Now what they do, at least they did with the Rhode Island several years ago, put forward its bid for, I'm calling it legislative protection from geoengineering. That's how I see it. They want some assurance that they're not going to be the next North Carolina, basically. And because you're absolutely right, they have partial knowledge. All they're thinking of is the chemtrails. The chemtrails are just the chaff, and the delivery system for big pharma's input into the transhumanism that we're all scheduled for. And there are other things in the chemtrails. Of course there are. But all of it is definitely about the full spectrum dominance control over the planet and human beings. What I would recommend to states, and you know, now we have 17 states to be exact. I count them every day. I find it hard to believe that much will happen at all, except maybe more lies. Now, I would like to believe that Mr. Trump would actually be briefed with the truth about this program. I certainly know he was not briefed in his first round in 2016. So, you know, that's the trouble with this president's system, is a man wanders in and somehow gets elected to a very important office. And then he's surrounded by people who've been there a long time and know their way around, and make the decisions in the back rooms as to how much this guy is going to be told about his situation. So I watch with not bated breath, but I watch with great interest to see how far he's able to penetrate what this is doing. He has beside him Elon Musk, who I call Boy Wonder. the Mars boy wonder. And he very much is following the secret space program that I allude to again and again, having been taught how important it is by investment analyst Catherine Austin Fitts, I know it's still going on. The secret space program, not so secret now because it has the Space Force. So we will see. Do I have any really sharp ideas of how we could stop over the states? No, I don't, because now I have the patent, which shows that they can use infrasound. People write me all the time, there were no chemtrails today, Elana, and I always say, well, how deep blue was the sky? Was it very deep blue? Or was it baby blue? Well, it's usually baby blue. And that means that the chemtrails are there, but they probably were the invisible type, the type done with infrasound. So, it's a challenge because, and you're probably right to ask at this point for me to clarify why they need that chaff up there. You have to have particulates in the atmosphere, if you're going to do an entire wireless transmission system. You've got to have, it can't be a vacuum. You also can't have a lot of moisture. So I don't know about how your rain is doing. I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest, and all the rain seems, pretty chemical to me because it's drying in less than an hour. I mean, it's gone. So what are we getting here? The snow is certainly nucleated. The snow is chemically nucleated. Don't let children eat snow ever, ever, ever again, as things remain. So, these are all things that I would like for people to have more interest in learning about these things, because if they're waiting for the authority figures to clarify to them that this is dangerous, or this is a weapon system, or, you're wasting your time by trying to get the chemtrails canceled over your state, all of that, that's not going to happen. You're not going to have somebody like that who's going to tell you that, other than Dr. Mihalcea.
I have another question regarding, we saw this amazing video about the Schumann resonance and really understanding that we are spiritual being and we're frequency specific with the earth. We're in resonance with it. And in your book, you describe how they're changing the Schumann resonance, how they are changing the magnetosphere, and that ultimately changes all of the interactions of life because the web of life is interconnected. And in my mind, that will lead to complete extinction, which we're already seeing from all the pollution. And we have a loss of species at an absolute alarming rate. And this whole idiotic idea, in my mind, to fuse humanity with technology, but also then understanding that the natural human may not even be able to survive this aspect of this new totally synthetic control of the dominance, because we, in our life force, we are dependent on these certain resonant frequencies, and unless you're a part plastic cyborg, you wouldn't be able to live in the new world. So, there's, I was just at this transhumanist seminar, and Nicole Shanahan, she was, I thought that she was very informed. She was discussing, well, you can't really prevent transhumanism anymore. All you can fight for is maybe some colonies of natural humans. But I would say, it's like, look, we have sheddings from these COVID biological weapons of mass destruction, which is self-spreading vaccines. So the technology is spreading. And then you have the wind that is actually, transporting all the particulates everywhere in the world, regardless of if they're not spraying right over your head. So there is not going to be a survivable colony for natural human on this planet. And that's what people really need to understand. It's like, you and I and Clifford and Dr. Nixon, 2 or 3 years ago, we had this symposium and we said, look, people, this is an extinction level event that is coming our way. And still people are like not getting it.
It's true, but I don't know. Am I just an idealist from the 60s that has sort of I still maintain that if we can work on the consciousness of the natural human being, I don't have much hope for the thrice vaxxed people. That's the number I've chosen. Thrice vaxxed. I wish you well. Good luck, but I'm not going to probably spend much time on you. So, can we change our consciousness in such a way? I mean, if I think it through, Anna, I can't. I'm not very good at seeing the future as a failure. I'm much more of the mind that if we can just get ourselves into a certain way of thinking, and of course I'm a student of Rudolf Steiner, so thinking is, you might think thinking is just an intellectual effort, but no, that's not what I call thinking. Thinking has to do with really entering into, I don't know if it's a quantum level or what it is, but it's definitely different from the, I'm going to go to the store and get a quart of milk kind of thinking. It's the kind that, yes, real scientists do, real geniuses do, real artists do, people who have jobs that it could just be pushing a broom around, but your mind is free because your body is doing the toil. So however that works, I keep putting it out there, just like you do. I keep putting it out there of how this works so that people can take some measures, at least regarding the environment and how it's been used epigenetically to change us. Because we're already in the process of transhumanism. We're already in it. We have those chemicals in us. We have the constancy of electromagnetism. I mean, we're really in the beast, and now we have a chance to get to know the beast. And I have this funny idea. I don't know if I told you in the other interview we did, but my idea is, okay, I know I have nanotech in me. What used to be, when I was seeing more of Clifford, when he and Carol, his wife, were living up in the Northwest, in Idaho, I would drive over there. And one time I went over there to see them, and I don't remember how many days, but several days before I was leaving, suddenly I had this huge rash on my calves. I mean, it was like, wow, where did this come from? And when I would pick at it had a little head on it, and I'd pick the head, and inside was well, it looked like a crystal. It looked like my legs were full of crystals, and they were sort of beige, not white, beige. And so I went over there, and Clifford and we had been going to go through a lot of specimens people had been sending him. Well, we spent our time on my legs, scraping with a razor blade and pulling these off and looking at them. And we came to no conclusions. But it took up all our time. That it was successful in that. And then I came home, and within 4 or 5 days, I woke up one morning, they were all gone. They were all gone. So I decided, that was given to me by my friends at the agency, or whatever you want to call it, because I was going to go and see Clifford, and it was a distraction, a complete distraction, and it worked. So when you have enough of those experiences, you realize that your consciousness may be the only thing standing between you and the end of the human race. You really realize that that's how this is set up. You got to be smart, It's not a matter of just knowing a lot of factoids. It's not a matter of impressing people. It's really what are we not paying attention to that has to do with this? Like if I were living in the state of Tennessee, for example, and I wanted this bill to go through, what am I not doing? What should I be doing? Who would I want to see, to talk to, in order to see if perhaps that person could be helpful in this? I mean, we have to use our imagination, I guess, is what I'm kind of beating around the bush about. And a lot of people think the imagination is something that need not apply when you're dealing with intellectual things or ideas or science or whatever. No, you need imagination. It's a soul quality that gives us breadth and gives us depth, and that's what I ask myself almost every day: is what am I not taking into account in this problem? There's something I'm not quite getting.
Let me ask you this. I've just posted this on my Substack, and I was really amazed by it. This is AVZ Capital, which is former intelligence, CIA, FBI, military, MI6, Mossad, on next generation artificial intelligence powered technology, and their investment in the portfolio of FDA approved nanopass vaccine and drug delivery. And I was just like, wow. So first of all, I mean, look at this, the triangle, which is oftentimes described as the, sort of the symbol of the spiritual human, but then, they have the key for it, like the
keyhole, yeah.
Like the keyholes, the key to control the spirit of the human. And then what was very interesting is, this absolutely interested in defense technologies, but this nanopass. So first of all, here's the board of director, Yaron Ashkenazi. Here you have former MI5 director, former Canadian Secret Service director, former CIA director, former director of Mossad, former FBI associate deputy director, and even here a brigadier general from the unit of 8200. So what is NanoPass? This is their main investment, big investment portfolio, is a vaccine delivery mechanism of intradermal delivery that contains microjet solution platforms for microelectromechanical systems, MEMS, that's basically smart dust, designed to optimize product delivery performance and for therapeutic and aesthetic procedures, and it was FDA approved. I mean, when I read this, I was just like, wow. I mean, all of the intelligence directors of the world managing an investment portfolio that's all about artificial intelligence powered, and their symbol is the Internet of Bodies, and they are investing in vaccine delivery with microelectronics. I was just blown away.
I'm so glad that you gave me the short version, because I was overwhelmed by that when I saw you sent that. Okay, so it looks to me like an aerosol delivery package. Does it to you?
Well, it's an injectable drug delivery, so it's transdermal, but still the fact that it's used for aesthetics and therapeutic vaccine delivery has a huge investment in their portfolio. And obviously we know about the intra-body area network and cryptocurrency mining. I've seen reports of this. And the fact that this is an investment portfolio, but that it is managed by the former intelligence directors. I mean, how much more obvious can this be?
Well, and they went to great lengths to hide the fact that the CIA was the one that really began the Gakona, Alaska geoengineering thing, and then it was quickly passed to E-Systems, and then it went to Raytheon, And, you know, boom, boom, boom. All of them are actually synonyms for the CIA, but they went to great lengths to hide that fact. And what you're saying is they ain't hiding anymore.
They're not hiding and they are actively involved. They've weaponized healthcare for the interbody area network, infrastructure of the Internet of Bodies. And it's all about the beast system. And now, you really have to look at our all injectables, which is what I believe that come from big pharma, contaminated with microelectronics. And you go to a doctor and get a dental anesthetic or whatever. And you are now fully vaccinated. And what that really means is that you are now part of the artificial intelligence control grid.
That's right. No, I'm totally with you on that. Thank you for doing that, though. Go back to the slides and tell me what's next, because as long as we're on that, let's go a little deeper into how the human being is fitting into this space fence.
Absolutely. So if we go to, this is the next slide.
Okay. So I just wanted to put in there that people understand that not only is the ionosphere controlled, but the jet stream is as well. Okay, next. This is important, and I'll tell you why after.
Scientists have discovered a human-made barrier around Earth, protecting against the natural particle radiation in space. They believe the bubble was formed by very low-frequency waves, or VLFs. VLFs have been found to interact with the particles in space, affecting how and where they move. VLFs are used for radio communications, including with submarines, because they can penetrate deep into the ocean. The waves can also travel far into the environment around Earth. By understanding more about how VLF transmissions help shape our space environment, we learn more about this complex region surrounding us. The more we know, the more situational awareness we have to protect our satellites from natural radiation in space.
To protect ourselves. Okay, so that is the only place I know of that actually references the space fence, and this comes from a patent that is easily found regarding building a magnetic fence around the Earth, particularly at that place and the circumference there, and how that the VLF and the ULF, ultra low frequency, will be the primaries of that. And this is the space fence. Imagine this as the one end of it, and then we haven't gotten yet to it, but I'll explain very quickly, and you'll all know what I'm talking about. The part that's on the ground. So the fact that is there, that's why you may have wondered why there's so much metal in the chemtrails that's coming down now. And a lot of it is, it comes down and we breathe it in, and it's in our bodies, and we need to get detoxed because the metals they just don't go with our human bodies. We're not set up for them. But the space fence in space is exceedingly useful to them for sandwiching us between. So you have something pulling from below, and you have something pushing from below to the above, and you have that problem of the magnetism, and I'm very big into that. I spend a lot of time on the magnetic aspect because we now have a great deal of magnetite in us, and yes, we have graphene oxide in us, and these are two crucial, important parts of the transhuman vision for the cyborg type of human, and so what we want to do is understand the placement of these things. So just remember to picture the Earth as being now surrounded by a magnetic belt, and that's really down by where they grow our food, just to give a little lead into something else. And you can go to the next part, Anna. So here's just a clarifying, and it'll bring up a question as well. Don't worry about that. It's a process, the learning about how this all works. Only infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma are Hertzian. Okay, so the Hertz thing it used to be cycles per second, CPS, for this way of measurement. But back in I believe it was in the 50s, it was changed to Hertzian. And then they were able to hide something. And what they were hiding was the scalar type of energy, which is not the same thing as electromagnetic energy. So frequencies above infrared are scalar, as are all the waves in nature and biosystems. So we have this wonderful system of energy called scalar. That's what Tesla used almost exclusively. And yet it's now being hidden from us the same way that the concept ether has been hidden from us since the 1920s, when the most famous person who was told never to use it again in a scientific context was Einstein. He had always referred to the ether. The ether is what is 99.99% of the universe space. They now tell you that it's plasma, but it's not. It's ether. And the difference between the two is that ether simply cannot be measured very well. So Western science doesn't like things that can't be measured. And so it was sort of disappeared. And I talk about this in one of my books extensively, because without that concept of plasma and ether and their proper relationship with each other, then it's very hard for us to break into this scalar reality. So you see that the scalar waves, non-Hertzian frequencies, are ELF, ULF, low frequency, middle frequency, high frequency, VHF, UHF, EHF. And then the only non-Hertzian, or the only Hertzian vector frequencies are IR, UV, X-ray, and then the final one, which what is it? Gamma. Yeah, gamma waves. Interestingly enough, we had something happen not that long ago. In fact, in October 2022, the astronomers had never seen. Earth orbiting satellites detected the strongest gamma ray burst in modern history. How strong was it? It caused electrical currents to flow through the surface of our planet. And then Dr. Klekochuk, PhD, said, I am a climate scientist at the Australian Antarctic Division. VLF is my hobby. I started doing VLF radio measurements in the 70s when I was in high school. This is the first time I have ever detected a gamma ray burst. So that's kind of what they can use that wonderful girdle around the mid-planet for. Are there I'm sure they had to use it when we had that so-called solar event last summer, that solar eclipse. That was not a real solar eclipse. I mean, you just watch it and you can tell it's not natural. So let's wake up and smell the coffee here about how the entire world now has been made into a lab. It's been made into a place where those with the biggest toys and the most dangerous toys can play. And we need to understand that there is a lot of irresponsibility going on with these technologies, and to stay the course on being human, on remaining human, not get caught up in it, so that we can we can carry this forward for the generations coming still. So that to me, go to the next one. That to me is so essential that we stay the course. But you can go to the next one. But we need to know what is really going on. Now, here's my famous list. I'm sure people are tired of me bringing it forward, but this is actually Clifford Carnicom's list from 2005. I've tweaked it many times. He probably doesn't even recognize it now. The things that geoengineering is really doing, weather engineering and chemical electromagnetic engineering, planetary geophysical engineering, directed energy weapons, surveillance, neural manipulation, that means mind control from space, nanotechnology, digital synbio, synthetic biology, transhumanism. That's what I'm concentrating on now, pretty much. And then finally, the cloaking, obscuration, and detection of exotic propulsion craft and plasma life forms. That's all very fascinating stuff. And next. And then control over the mass food supply, GMO smart fields. Okay, the problem with GMOs, and most everyone in America eats GMOs, and they're mainly what they say is they're trying to save money. There's a problem with that, is that the GMO foods use seed which is not natural. They use synthetic seed. So I can't imagine that much good comes of it. It certainly is a great way to undo human 1.0 or Homo sapiens, and to give Homo sapiens all these diseases, these chronic ailments that don't get better. It is much better, even though the organic foods are sitting outside and getting doused in whatever's coming down from big pharma in the sky. It is still an heirloom seed. It is still a living, viable, reproducing seed, and that's a very different matter than what is GMOs now. And you all must know that, and I've said it many times, that I think there were 36 or so nations where if you come into the country with GMOs in any way, shape, or form, it's a felony. So there are 36 nations which seem to know a lot more than we do in America about our health. Okay, next. And then we have these things that are really, I don't know how to wake people up about this, Dr. Anna, because I don't own a cell phone.
I don't either.
Yeah, and there you are, a professional, and that's the first thing that people are going to say is, "Oh, my job, I need to know," and blah blah blah. No, it's a matter of not getting addicted to the technology. I don't own a TV. I've never owned a TV, and I have a computer. I mean, it's like a TV. It's and I have to have it for my work. So here we see, you see the satellite up in the right-hand corner, and it just sort of gives you an idea of how many things in your body are connected to these other technologies by means of the 5G and 6G system. Next one. Now, I included these just to give you an idea of something a little different. This is from the book by Thomas Mayer, a German guy, COVID Vaccines from a Spiritual Perspective, Consequences for the Soul and Spirit and for Life After Death. People who, this is a picture of some of the subtle bodies. I mentioned that the ionosphere and the magnetosphere and the plasmasphere and all that, we could look at those as the subtle bodies of the living planet. Well, these are the subtle bodies of the living human being, human 1.0. This will certainly not be true of the transhuman. So these higher parts of us that we can't see unless we have clairvoyance or we have learned some special technique in some school, but they are there nonetheless, and these are part of being an actual human 1.0, and see how evenly placed they are. I'm not going to define all these. I will say something about the doppelganger, the one on the brown one on the right. That is the double, and it's very famous. Faust, the whole Faustian thing was about the doppelganger, and that is something that we are all born with. Because it helps us to do cognitive work in an electromagnetic way. I think it's important to realize that we are not electromagnetic beings. That's quite an overstatement. We're more an etheric being, and then we have this doppelganger scene that we need in order to be able to think. So, it's part of living in this world, part of our incarnation. This is Rudolf Steiner. So here is after inoculation, some changes have been seen in people by people who have that capability of seeing on that level. So you see that the angel, the yellow, is in a very different place regarding the human that is it's in its care, and then we see that the doppelganger has actually is sort of in around the heart and the lungs of the human being, etc. So there's definitely a problem with whatever the serum has been made with, and I call this black magic. I really don't know what else to call it.
I agree
Then,
with that.
yeah, and then this is the final part, getting there: remote neural monitoring, mind control via satellite. I just want to remind you that all these satellites that are up now, I don't know if Arthur Firstenberg, by the way, Arthur Firstenberg has died, and I want to honor him and his great work in electromagnetics and 5G in particular. I knew Arthur in Santa Fe many years ago when we both lived there, and attended his meetings and listened to his speeches before the Santa Fe City Council. So I honor Arthur and wish him well on his way. This fellow, Michael Lusk, wrote me from Zurich in 2020, an obvious and remarkable interference with weather could be employed to generate quantitative metrics measuring how entrained within a covert control program a population is. In other words, using the weather instruments, I've come across this again and again, has been very useful to intelligence agencies and those who are manipulating the weather for political gain. It's obvious that it certainly has served them well, and it has multiple purposes. And then this is yet another a diagram of the human body and how plugged in it is. This diagram shows all the components that are introduced with each inoculation. Together, they act as a network for monitoring the human body. So, we're in this whether we would or not, and that is the truth. And so we may as well learn our way around in it so that we can think of ways that we can counter it and possibly grow beyond it, such as what I'm trying to do with my nanobots. I'm trying to develop a relationship with them so that having realized that I'm a higher incarnation than they are, and that I want them to do my will, not the will of those that control them by 5G and 6G. So that's that was my little show and tell.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Elana. And please tell our audience where they can find your work and your books, and where can they support you?
I have a new publisher, Inner Traditions. I think a great deal of them because I remember in 1975 when they published The Tao of Physics, and they published The Dancing Wooly Masters. And I was living in Berkeley at that time. And now imagine that here in my life, I am now being published by them. Who could have guessed? So they did a great job in making me work very hard to make sure everything was right and good. I recommend that you still order books from Frank Dauenhauer in Seattle, Washington, in his little tiny bookstore in his backyard called Rudolf Steiner Bookstore. He carries everything I write, and he will be ordering books at booksellers' rates from Inner Traditions. And so I think they can get everything at Frank's Rudolf Steiner Bookstore. And then I have 2 social media. I post every morning and comment as well. One is my Patreon site, Elana Freeland Patreon. And the other is the one site I still have left from Facebook. They've gotten rid of all the others. And this one is called EMF Planetary Engineering. And people can get things there. I no longer have my website, elanafreeland.com. I wouldn't waste time going to look for it.
Thank you so much for all of your knowledge. Again, I think that you have been such a light to the world by bringing such phenomenal and meticulous research. And I do think that all of us scientists, we have to humble ourselves and to look at the research that you've contributed to and learn from it. Because to me, the only way that we as scientists, as whatever doctors, PhDs, can really wrap our minds around it is to broaden our mind and to study the work of those people who've been researching this for decades and who, have done the legwork. So I think that it's just, your work is of phenomenal importance. It's on my website, on the recommended reading list, must absolutely, study. So thank you so much again, Elana, and I really, really appreciate your work, your lifetime of work. I think you're one of humanity's great, great heroes, and I thank you so much for coming on today.
And I thank you because I think you're right. I think those who have the little letters after their names and those who don't really need to work together now that we know that a lot of experts are on the take. And we're in the same boat. We're in, and I support you 100% always.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Dr. Anna Maria Mihalcea. I am an internal medicine physician with a PhD in pathology and 20 years of clinical experience. I've written a book that's called Light Medicine, A New Paradigm, The Science of Light, Spirit, and Longevity. I have explained to the world a new model of medicine in which we understand that we are biophotonic beings of light, and that if we address this model in our approach to health, that we can significantly help people. I am also the founder of the company True Blue Medical that creates beautiful blue light wellness wraps that are utilizing this principle. What's been shown is that blue light in itself has significant healing properties. For example, it increases the production of nitric oxide in the skin, which will increase the blood flow to certain areas. It's been studied that nitric oxide can stimulate the endorphin receptors, so this can also help with pain relief in a very natural form. And you have to understand that blue light has been used in optogenetics to control all aspects of the cell cycle. So we can restore, in a way, health that the regular scientific model hasn't quite thought about. So unlike infrared lights, blue light does not generate heat. And our skin absorbs biophotons and can store these as energy for healing purposes. What we have found with our beautiful wraps is that our customers have wonderful improvements in their well-being.
I slipped on the wet hose, rolled over my ankle, and broke it. But in my mind, it was a sprain. And so I went in and I wrapped my ankle. I walked on a broken ankle for 9 days, and I think the only reason I could do that is that wrap kept the swelling down and accelerated healing in a way nothing else I've tried has done.
I had a very painful hernia problem about a month ago. Dr. Anna recommended trying the True Blue Light Wrap. I wore it for 3 days and nights, 24/7, and the pain dwindled away completely. Since then, I've used the Blue Light Wrap on my back for back pain, and I've used it for headaches and migraines.
I damaged my knee, but I had a definite noticeable improvement immediately using the True Blue Wrap. It helped directly with the pain, the swelling, and it also improved range of motion starting the first night. I know that healing this type of an injury can take months to happen, even with medical intervention, but with the True Blue Medical Wrap, I saw daily improvement.
At 71 years old, my life is full of adventures. Sometimes accidents happen during those adventures, and now I seem to have made myself arthritic. I got my blue light wrap pretty fast, and I wear it most of the time. It works. I love those little blue lights.
Thank you for watching this episode of Truth, Science, and Spirit with Dr. Anna Mihalcea. If you would like to learn more about my research, you can find it on my Substack, and that is Anna Mihalcea, MD, PhD.substack.com. If you would like to find out more about my book that has won 3 different awards in the category of alternative medicine, called Light Medicine, A New Paradigm, The Science of Light, Spirit, and Longevity. You can find that at arthemasophiapublishing.com. If you're interested in the True Blue Medical Blue Light Wellness Wraps, of which I am the founder, you can find this at truebluemedical.com. Also, if you are interested in becoming a patient or in the Goliath laser, you can contact AM Medical LLC, my clinic, and the website is ammedicalmd.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.